Thank you, Barouane. Thank you, Puck. It's 1995. I'm a 13-year-old boy, and I'm playing a tennis match. To me, a very important tennis match. It's the national championships, and the full year is leading towards this moment. And I want to win. I want to win badly. But I lose badly, with quite embarrassing behavior, I must say. After the match, my coach and I, we evaluate. And he asked me, do you know why you lost? And I said, yeah, I played so bad, and how can it be after so many hours of practice, I still don't know how to hit a backhand, all that stuff. And he says, that's not the reason why you lost. He says, the reason why you lost is because you want to win too badly. And I ask him, well, how else am I supposed to win? I mean, I want to win badly, right? So how am I going to do that? And he said, I'll tell you how. The only way to win your match is to play your best possible point one at a time. That's the only way. And it makes sense, right? I mean, the match is nothing but a composition of all the points together, like your career or your life is nothing but a composition of all the moments one after the other, and then the final result is the total. But he keeps talking because this is all nice, but what does it look like? And he talks to me and he says a couple of things that I've tried to summarize as some sort of equation. Let's say this is the performance equation. I personally believe it's quite close to the happiness equation as well. But he says, in order to play one best possible point at a time, you need three things. One, you need the right focus. Two, you need the right attitude. Now, add those and divide it by minimal noise. When you do that, you have your best possible point at a time. Focus plus attitude divided by minimal noise. So what does that mean? What was my learning there? The best focus means, and the way I've learned it, is to be focused, because I need to channel my energy. I need to play the point, but not too focused. When I'm too focused, my arm is stiff. There's no way for me to respond to the changing environment or the changing tactics of my competitor. They say strategy never survives first contact with the enemy. And it's true. So you need to stay kind of relaxed at the same time. The attitude is my personal favorite. It's a little different. The attitude is about something that I value dearly. It's about taking responsibility for your actions. Which means that you are the only one who's playing the point. Not the spectator, not your trainer. It's just you out there alone on the court. At KraftHeinz, a company I work for, we call this ownership. And I believe it's one of the most beautiful things in the world to do things, to wake up and get moving and get going. There's something in there that I really, really enjoy. What about noise? Because we have focus, attitude, we divide it by minimal noise. Noise means all that is not related to playing the point. Spectators watching you, spectators talking about you. Totally irrelevant to when you're playing the point. Spectators are not important. They don't win the point, you win the point. The ability to simplify in business is very closely related in my field of work. Today, there is an example in my life. We talked about setting up a comms campaign for one of our businesses, communication, building awareness. But if we really look deeply into the data, the problem was not awareness. The problem is that we've had an out-of-stock problem on one product. So why on earth would you talk about and spend your time on something like awareness? So the noise part, the more and the smaller, the more you can minimize and the smaller you can make it, the better your performance and the happier you will be because you're less distracted. So we have this performance/happiness equation. Now let's get going, right? Let's go. It's not that simple. I've learned, at least. And there's a couple of tools and a couple of tips that I try to adopt every day as good as I can that help me a lot in setting the right focus, the right mindset, reducing the noise. And one of that is, how do you start the day? Question to the audience. Raise your hand if you ever snooze, sometimes snooze, or regularly snooze. Who snoozes? All right, about 30%. All right. One big advice for you. You need to stop it. All right. It's very easy. You can stop tomorrow. You really want to make the first action of your day a license to be lazy and say, it's okay, I can wait. I'll get up later. For me, it doesn't work because it gets in my mind and I adopt a certain mindset that says, it's okay to wait. You don't need to go now. Alternatively, I propose a ritual and stick to the ritual. My wife and I, we have a very strict ritual. We wake up, don't snooze, get out, stretch, make the bed, get up, get the kids out of bed, make breakfast for the kids. Not too high pace, not too low pace. And this ritual, this rhythm gets me going for the rest of the day. It improves my attitude for the day to take responsibility for my actions. And it improves my focus and it reduces the noise because I'm not on my phone the first thing in the morning, which is the worst thing I find I can do. And I still sometimes do it. So, how do you start your day? The second one is something I'd like you to consider is, what is your relationship to making mistakes? Because there's a couple of ways you can deal with mistakes. There's one tennis player called Stan Wawrinka. He's won a couple of Grand Slams in an era in which Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, they won all the Grand Slams. It's impossible to beat those guys, but he beat them a couple of times. And he has on his arm a tattoo. And it says something like this. It's not going to be exactly right, but more or less. I fail. It doesn't matter. I try again. I feel better. I feel forward. And this mindset of changing a relationship to a mistake softens your attitude. It makes you less critical. It makes me less critical about myself when I adopt this relationship with mistakes. It improves my attitude and it reduces my noise. Because I think about when I play tennis as an analogy, not why did I miss the backhand? It's because the spectators are talking too much. It's because I have headwind and my feet are too slow. So I move forward. I try to improve my next point. So relationship to mistakes. The third one is about self-awareness. I'll keep this one short, but I do believe it's very, very important. Building self-awareness and spending an enormous amount of time in trying to understand who you are, what your forehand is and what your backhand is very useful for two reasons. And the first reason is that you'll be able to build much stronger teams. If you really, really honestly evaluate yourself on what you can do well and what you're bad at, you will embrace diversity and inclusion much more as real things and not just as corporate topics. I know what I'm pretty good at. I'm pretty good at moving things forward. I'm pretty good at making sure that the team cooperates, work towards the same mission, and don't lose focus. I think I'm okay with that. I'm not particularly super strong in all the nitty-gritty details. So my financial partner is absolutely indispensable for me. And when he says something that I might not agree with in the first instance, I had better believe him, because otherwise I'm in deep trouble. The second one, self-awareness, I believe it makes you very humble. Because the more you understand and the more you accept what you're good at, what you're bad at, the more you realize you're part of the world. You're not better or worse than anyone else. Last tip that I like to give is the easiest to execute. It's also the hardest to execute. It's a tip that my mother gave me after that match, driving back home. And she said, Bob, your behavior was embarrassing. It was appalling. Frankly, I'm ashamed. It's okay. But I also have a lesson for you. And the lesson is this. Whatever you do in any of your matches or any of your moves later on in your life, remember this. Never complain and never explain. Never complain and never explain. And it sounds so easy, but it's not easy, obviously. But if you adopt that, something that I try to live by every day, as of the day she told me this lesson, if you adopt this slogan, so to speak, your focus will improve. Because your self-criticism, your criticism of others, you'll ignore, you become more relaxed, so your focus versus relaxation, let's say balance improves. Your attitude improves because you will not complain about what went wrong. Instead, you're probably much more silent and you think about what went wrong. And for some reason, the answer comes up and you know what to do. Right? The noise obviously decreases literally because you're not shouting and complaining, but also figuratively speaking, because you will separate the wheat from the chaff if you just sit and listen instead of complaining and explain in a defensive way why your performance is bad or why you didn't meet up to the standards that you had or someone else had. And the final thing it does is it will make you a much better listener. And I believe we need much better listeners in general. It will reduce your ego and it will make you feel more connected with others in your organization, but also with the world around you. So my message to you would be, if you want to play the best possible point at a time, which is closely related to happiness, improve your focus, your attitude, reduce the noise, and the easiest way of doing that is to never complain and never explain. Thank you.